Shooting film isn't as scary as you think. I'm a photographer, or a student photographer, actually. I'm in my third year of college, and I'm learning how to be the best that I can be at what we do. I've been shooting personally for about 5 or 6 years digitally, and this is honestly my first kind of few months shooting film, so I guess I just want to talk about kind of what I felt going into it, and kind of my preconceptions, my misunderstandings, my fears, my worries, and I guess kind of the overwhelming nature of it. And hopefully by the end of the video, I'll be able to free some of that mental paralysis that your brain might have put on you, or at least I know that my brain put on me when I was first thinking about and having to get into film photography. So I've been shooting digitally for about 5 or 6 years, right? I mean, going back into high school, and I remember thinking my photos were the shit, right? Like, they're amazing, untouchable, but some ego I had, because when I look back, I'm like, okay, I didn't know what I was doing, and frankly, I still don't. But getting better, hopefully, right? Just going back to that darkroom class, I was really worried going into it, right? Because I was like, I'm used to shooting digitally where, and with a mirrorless as well, where like every tiny little tweak and change I make happens right there on the little screen in front of me, right? So I never have to worry about like, am I perfectly in frame? Am I, cropped enough? Am I framing positively? The biggest thing of all is pricing, right? Cost, and how every single picture you take is X amount of money, right? So take a good photo, or at least that's how it feels. How do you load the camera? How do you use it? Do I even have a camera? How do I go about getting that? What camera should I get? And I think that's kind of the thing that a lot of people, including myself, get hung up on, because okay, how do I enter this world? Even looking online, okay, you have the actual film, the cartridges, and you have black and white, and you have color, and then you have the developing tanks, and then do you need darkroom equipment right off the bat, or should you just send it off to a lab to get prints or developed at all, and how much is that gonna cost you, right? So it gets down to the point, or at least for me, where I was kind of calculating almost to the penny how much each picture was gonna cost me, right? It creates sort of like a paralysis, I guess, to where I don't even want to go shoot, I don't even want to attempt it, I don't even want to try, because I don't want to fail, I guess, if that makes sense. So let's talk about how to get past that, how to cure that. So I feel like the first really big hiccup I had when starting to shoot, getting my first assignment and being told, okay, go look for this and this, and goodbye. How do I properly expose? How do I make sure my photos don't come out either completely blank frames or completely dark frames? I'm kind of cheating with that. The A1 has a really nice light metering system. It kind of does a lot of the work for me. It gives me an idea of where exposures are going to be before I even take the picture, right? Just depending on what the camera's pointed at, and it's a little rudimentary. It's not, anywhere near like how A6400 is, of course, but it does the job, honestly. I've got a lot of experience shooting with digital cameras, so I can kind of, I guess, picture how it's gonna be before the photo even gets taken. But my advice there is learn the exposure triangle. Learn what all of it means: the shutter speed, ISO, and aperture. Learn how they interact with each other, what they need, how to avoid those super ugly overexposed frames, and how to avoid those super ugly underexposed frames. For me personally, what I like to do is I like to have a fairly high shutter speed while I'm shooting on the lower end of an aperture. Like if I'm taking a portrait outside at 1.8, then I'm gonna want, depending on how much sun there is, kind of 1/100th to 1/200th of a second. However, it's more forgiving than you would think, because in the darkroom it can be corrected with burning or dodging, or undercooking it is what I like to call it. When I have a particularly dark frame, I like to undercook my prints, but that's for later. Anyway, the other almost equally as big hump to get over when even getting into film at all, or even thinking about getting into film at all, is the pricing, right? Every photo you take technically costs money, right? I mean, when you're shooting with a regular camera for so long, then you're so used to being able to just pop out 50 photos in an instant of a car moving by, or of people playing a sport, or something along those lines, right? I mean, it's so inconsequential, you don't even think about it. You just snap, and then look for the best one. Not with film photography, but it's not a bad thing either. I've actually found that I think it's made my work a lot better, because I'm a lot more careful and considerate with what I'm even choosing to shoot at all, and where I want my subject to be, and where I want my exposure to be, and overall, compositionally speaking, I think my work has improved dramatically. Sorry, just to go back to the pricing aspect of it, it sucks. It does, right? But it does cost money, and you kind of have to get over that. There's no tip or trick about that. You just have to go and shoot. For my first project, we were advised to use 2 rolls, right? The first roll, just shoot whatever, just waste the entire roll. Go and shoot, and then see what happens, see what you get. Then the second roll actually use for the assignment and, you know, fill in your requirements and stuff, because by then you will be free of that sort of paralysis that kind of just grabs hold of you and won't let you shoot freely. It's kind of the same with drawing. I mean, whenever I draw and I'm looking at the nice blank white page, I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to waste this page. But little tip and trick I learned there is to just scribble all over it, doodle, whatever, and it really just helps free up the mind of kind of those holds that it's placing on itself, because you don't want to ruin what's seemingly perfect, right? So here's what I recommend. Get yourself a little SLR. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter which one. I mean, I've seen all sorts from all sorts of my different classmates and what they have, what they bring, what they were given, what they bought, and I've seen from super high-tech, for the time at least, high-tech auto-exposing, autofocus cameras to super most basic little generic point-and-shoots. Don't get a point and shoot, but get one with the dials, you know, fully manual. And the best advice I can give, go shoot it. You're gonna have to. You gotta release yourself of those kind of inhibitions and those holds, and you've gotta just go and take them. But okay, so let's say you've taken your pictures, you have a roll or two of undeveloped film, you know what's next for you. And you look online and you see the canisters and the chemicals and all sorts of overwhelming information, and you're like, oh my god, what do I do? And then there's also the option of sending it off to a photo lab, right, and getting those photos back within kind of a week or so. But then that's more money on your part, right? That's actually what I did for my first ever roll of film. I shot like this super cheap, super awful 5 Below little cartridge. It was something like, I don't know, it was like 12 pictures or something. It wasn't a lot. And sent it off to a lab, and I got them back, and I won't even lie, they were awful, because for one, the film stock is awful, and for two, the lab I sent it to is not great. Yeah, so weigh out what that means to you and whether or not you're ready for the kind of, I guess, undertaking of all those different steps that are required for developing your film, or if you're more of the, okay, I don't really care, I'm just gonna send it off, get it developed, and I'll get it back, and oh look, my film picture's right. Both are completely valid. I've done both, of course, and a whole bunch of people end up never even touching developer themselves, and they just go get it developed and have it back, right? The reason I'm developing it myself is because that's how it's being taught in my class. Another thing to consider there is if you're shooting black and white film or if you're shooting color film, because the processes for developing those and the chemicals used for developing those is completely different. I personally haven't even developed color film yet. I haven't even shot it yet, honestly, because my class is being taught completely with black and white. I myself, I'm using Ilford HP5 400 Plus. That is a mouthful. I had to retake that like 5 times. And it's great, super easy to develop. There's a bunch of kits online. All you have to do is just type in black and white film developing kit, or even, I forget who exactly sells it, but someone sells a quote-unquote monobath developing solution, where it's just you dump it all in and you get it right back. And as far as I know, it's not like the highest quality developer ever, but if you're just starting out, I don't see the harm in using it. You know, I actually want to mention, don't expect your first photos to be bangers. Don't expect them to be, oh my god, you know, hang it on the wall worthy. I'm not even sure I've gotten a hang it on the wall worthy one, and I've been through, I don't know, 5 or 6 rolls, which isn't a lot, believe me, but I don't know. I guess it was kind of one of my preconceptions where I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I already know I can take decent enough photos digitally, so I should be able to do it on film. Not exactly. Not all the skills really transfer, at least in my experience. So when you get those first couple rolls back, don't expect to see like beautiful work of art, is all I'm saying there. You'll have nice photos, you'll have bad photos, but don't be disappointed by what you might or might not find in there. I mean, I remember my very first roll, it was just god awful. I'm talking absolutely horrific. The pictures were super out of whack and blurry, and the exposure was totally missed, and it was bad. That's just to say the least. By my second and third rolls, I kind of started to figure it out a little bit more. I had more experience, of course, and I had seen kind of where my results from previous rolls were leaving me and how to correct for that for my next shoot. So I'll just throw some pictures on the screen, kind of going in progression, and you can kind of see how even in just a few rolls of film, I've managed to develop not really the skills, but at least more of a taste for it, a thumb for it, more of an eye for it. And that really just leads me back to what you have to do. And what you have to do is you gotta go shoot. It doesn't matter if you're shooting film or digital, you're never gonna progress unless you're actually going out there and shooting, right? I mean, you can learn all the technical definitions you want, you can read all the books you want about it, but the real learning is gonna happen when you have the camera in your hands and there's a subject in front of you and you're taking a picture of it. And then you gotta look at your results and you gotta face them. I mean, you know, sometimes they're gonna be pretty harsh to look at, but you gotta take it on the nose and you gotta pick yourself back up and you gotta go and attack it next time, even better, even stronger. So my big advice, get the camera, get the film, and go shoot. What you do with the film after that, whether you develop it yourself or you send it off to a lab, whatever, but you have to look at the results and you have to say, okay, this is what I did right, this is what I did wrong, this is what I can do next time. Always learn from your mistakes, of course. And I really can't stress enough just how important it is that you break that sort of mental paralysis that you kind of subconsciously place on yourself when you know that the pictures cost money to take and that you only have 30 or even 24 frames that you're allowed to use in that roll. And you've really got to break free of those mental restraints and just go shoot whatever. Shoot your family, your dog, shoot furniture, buildings. The big overarching point, and you'll hear this in any YouTube video, I know I've heard it a million times when I was first starting, just go shoot. But anyway, with all that being said, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I hope all of your frames come out just beautiful, perfect composition, perfect exposure, just works of art. But if and when they don't, it's not the end of the world. And always remember that no matter what, as long as you look at your pictures and you acknowledge your shortcomings, you're gonna progress. All that energy and effort's gotta go somewhere, and it's only up from here. So good luck, and I hope to see you soon. That's corny, right?